Members are still signing, and at the end of the day, we'll take attendance.
Mr. Speaker, can that be made available now for the members to know whether we have formed a quorum?
The President shall, in a closed session, brief the Senate on the circumstances of the proclamation of a state of emergency.
So the two houses of the National Assembly have now approved the state of emergency request of President Tinubu.
It has become...
But of course, not without another controversy. Now, this is what the Constitution requires both houses to do before arriving at a decision. In other words, to be able to realistically follow this constitutional requirement, there has to be a proper voting procedure. That is, they could either achieve that by electronically voting or do so with the raising of hands. As a matter of fact, their own individual rules in the House of Reps and of course in the Senate also clearly specify certain requirements. Which was the point Senator Seyaki Diskin? Which was the point Honorable Seyaki Diskin?
It is smoky.
Which was the point Honorable Seyaki Diskin? Which was the point Honorable Seyaki Dixon? Oh my God. Which was the point Honorable Seyaki Dixon of Bayelsa Central was trying to make here? Watch.
Now, the point of order, Mr. President. Henry Seyaki Dixon, Bayelsa West. The point of order I rose to address is to draw the attention of the presiding officer and our colleagues to the specific provisions of our rules. Each one of us is guided by two documents: the Constitution of the Federal Republic, upon which we were sworn, and the rules that govern our proceedings. The proclamation has been read to us, and I wanted to draw your attention, Mr. President, respectfully, and the attention of all our colleagues, to the specific provisions of our rules. Order 135. The framers of this are very exhaustive. Once you say state of emergency declaration, there is a procedure.
Can you read 135?
Let me read it. Say, look, 133. When the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, by instrument published in the Gazette of the Government of the Federation, issues a proclamation of a state of emergency in the Federation or of any part thereof, he shall immediately after the publication, A, B, C, D. Now, since you have read it, now let me go to 135. The President shall, in a closed session, brief the Senate on the circumstances of the proclamation of a state of emergency.
Your point of order is upheld.
Thank you.
But this was how they illegally and eventually approved the state of emergency. Watch.
Those in support of this approval say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it.
You be mumu.
You
think say they wise?
Thank
You
all distinguished senators once again for their patriotism and their zeal to save Nigeria, and pray that the votes and proceedings and the content therein will bring lasting peace to Rivers State, and urge that all warring factions should shoot their swords and get ready to sit on a round table to bring peace to Rivers State in order to ensure that democracy continues to thrive. And also we hope that all those who constitute the committee to oversight and oversee the activities of the administrator during the period of the emergency rule will do their best to ensure that prudence, accountability, and good governance reign in the government and before the eyes of the good people of Rivers State of Nigeria. I thank you all.
Now, if you thought that was a hard watch, wait till you see how it played out in the House of Reps.
Mr. Speaker, constitutional point of order.
Who is raising the point of order? Yes, Honorable.
The Honorable Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Obi Agocha. I represent the great people of Iguano, whom I had South Federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, since the President's letter concerns proclamation, Mr. Speaker, the constitutional procedures that must be followed as enshrined in Section 305, subsection 6B, that says for us to consider this President's request that this House must have two-thirds of members present. Mr. Speaker, may I please ask...
We already have our attendance registers, Honorable colleague, and we'll rely on that to ensure.
Mr. Speaker, this is a constitutional...
Yes, we are...
Can we do a head count, Mr. Speaker?
How many times will they tell you before you know that Nigeria is not for you?
Yes, yes. Our attendance register will guide us accordingly, Honorable. Please.
Sir,
our attendance registers will guide us accordingly. Members are still signing, and at the end of the day, we'll take attendance.
Mr. Speaker, can that be made available now for the members to know whether we have formed a quorum? Whether we have formed a quorum, Mr. Speaker, as enshrined in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, so that our deliberations are not going to be deliberations based on illegality.
It is noted.
Clearly, they don't have the numbers. And by that I mean the APC-led House knew if they did as prescribed by the Constitution, they are likely not going to get the votes to approve the President's request. Hence, the resistance to resort to the most commonsensical thing to do, which is to revert to the day's attendance register. By the way, thumbs up to this honorable member. You are the reason why there is still a glimmer of hope for Nigeria's failing democracy. I guess the most obvious question to ask is, how do you determine a two-thirds majority by voice vote? Almost impossible, right? Anyways, welcome to the Nigerian National Assembly, where Baba Sokpe is more important than what the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says. And there is a reason why the Constitution requires two-thirds majority. Nigerians not only know the actual number of lawmakers that supported the President's emergency declaration in Rivers State, they also know who voted for what, and of course, whether or not the constitutional requirement was met. But of course, these things don't matter to these so-called lawmakers. I mean, how can a National Assembly made up of almost 500 individuals not be interested in following due process? I can understand why the APC lawmakers, who by the way dominate the National Assembly, aren't interested in following due process. But what about the opposition parties? Why does it seem like the current opposition in the National Assembly aren't interested in challenging anything the ruling party does? Quite frankly, this is very concerning. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but can their not following clearly laid down rules invalidate the whole process? In other words, can lawyers go to court and challenge the illegality of the process and demand that it be redone according to the rules? Only yesterday, I was just questioning why the President will be in a hurry to swear in the new sole administrator in Rivers State ahead of the National Assembly approval, which of course lays credence to the fact that this current National Assembly are a bloody rubber stamp. But in fairness to them, they managed to at least do one thing right. Watch.
I listened to Mr. President's proclamation where he said that the sole administrator will be reporting to the Federal Executive Council.
You get it? Speaker, if you don't get it, forget about it.
With that position, and insist that the provision of Section 11(4) of the Constitution should take precedence over that. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
I so second that motion as ably moved. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So those who are in support of this additional insertion into the request should say aye. Those against should say nay. That is it.